Oh, hi everyone.
Everything was floating.
It's me again. I guess another episode of Cooking with Berton. Today we're going to talk about steak. Now, I guess the big thing I want to show you, because it's not that complicated, steak really, but the big thing I want to show you is everybody's been interested in how do I do this sort of what I call the clean way of cooking steak. Something I got from America's Test Kitchen in the cookbook. It doesn't mess up your stove or anything like that. One of the main things about it is that it also creates a great steak, and that's what we're really after, right? We want to make a great steak. Now, the thing about steaks is that one, they're delicious. That's good. Two, they're expensive. That's not great. Three, what you really want to do is all you have to do is salt and pepper the steak and cook it to the right temperature. It's easier than almost any other protein that I can think of. Chicken, pork chops, etc., which tend to dry out. So the thing you want to do here, this is really important, is just cook it to the right temperature. And that's kind of hard to do. It's something that you get good at with time. But the other thing is that, of course, most people are used to lighting a grill or a grill pan, which I have. I don't have a grill. I don't have a barbecue. And it gets all splattery and your home gets all smoky and stuff like that. This is the America's Test Kitchen way of preparing a steak. Now, it needs to be a certain kind of steak, a strip steak, which is what this is, also called a shell steak, or a rib steak would be fine. Bone-in is fine as well. It's just something you have to maybe a little bit more time for. But they should be about 1 inch thick, 3/4 of an inch to 1 inch thick. That's what you need to do. You got a skirt steak, you got a flank steak, don't do it here. You got a hanger steak, probably not going to be good. You need a steak like this. And unfortunately, this happens to be one of the best steaks out there. Now, as always, while I'm cooking, I have to have a marching band. The only other thing that you have to have when you're cooking these steaks is a stopwatch. A stopwatch. Because here's what's going to happen, is that I'm going to cook it, I'm going to time it for 2 minutes, and 2 minutes, and 2 minutes, and 2 minutes, until I get it cooked to the proper temperature. Now, two things about this steak, which people say, which I can't really say why, I can't prove, I don't know why, but one, you don't need to take it out of the refrigerator like an hour and a half ahead so that it comes to the proper room temperature or anything like that. And you don't really need to rest it like you do most steaks. Now, I'm going to rest it a little bit anyway, but I'm not going to rest it for 15 minutes and stuff like that. It's a different cooking process. So I think that's part of the reason why you don't have to rest it. Now, Arwen is coming in here and he's showing the steak. Look how well marbled it is. It does look like a pretty good steak. I might have to trim some of the fat after I cook it. You also might notice that the steak is fairly dry. Like you don't see a lot of, I mean, there's definitely some moisture on the top here and stuff like that. That's going to happen. You don't want that to not happen. But one of the key things here, and I think everybody knows this, but just to reaffirm, I pre-salted it around 1:30. It is now 6:14. So say 5 hours, 4.5 hours of being salted, being in the fridge, drying out in the fridge. I think it's a great technique. I don't think it's crucial. Like if you don't have time, you don't have to do it. But the steak absorbs the salt, and the salt gets in the steak. It flavors it very well. If you salt it and then you go into the fridge 30 or 40 minutes later, well, you're just going to see a lot of moisture on the top, because the thing is that salt draws out moisture, right? And that's what you don't want to do that with steak. You don't want to draw out the moisture. You want a moist steak, right? Of course, everybody does. But the thing is that if you leave it in there for an hour or more, all that moisture that's been drawn out gets reabsorbed into the steak, and that's why it's fairly dry looking. You know, it looks very good. There's no pepper on the steak. I'll pepper it after I cook it. But let's go. Let's do this. I'm going to turn this to the highest possible heat. It helps have a really good burner like this. High heat for 2 minutes, flip it. High heat for 2 minutes, flip it, turn it to medium, 2 minutes. Keep it on medium for the rest of the way. and then flip it every 2 minutes until you get the desired doneness. So right now we're going to do this, and then Aaron is going to cut out of the video just to save you a little time watching steak sizzle in the pan. Not that that's not a enjoyable thing. And we start. Okay, guys. So we're literally 1 minute into the cooking here. Now I wasn't really clear. I'm realizing that now that in addition to the 1-inch thick steak, of which this is 4 3/4 inch, of which this falls into line, you also need a nonstick pan. This is a nonstick pan. Definitely is going to work well here. And as I say, you can. The pan starts out cold. There's no. I didn't start the burner until I put the steaks in the pan. And right now, it's about a minute and a half or so. And you're not really impressed by this. It's not really happening. Oh, but what's happening? So it's not going to stick to the pan, which is good. Now, what about the juiciness? What about all the fat and stuff like that? Well, the steak is going to release fat as it sears here in the pan, and that's going to help to lubricate the whole system. We are now at 159, and we're going to flip. You can see that even in a non-stick pan, it does want to stick. It wants to be problematic. And now Aaron can turn off the video. As you can see, this is not very appetizing. Who would want to eat that? Gray steak? No, it's not very good. So, okay, so maybe now at 3:45, 3 minutes and 45 seconds, you can see one of the advantages of this, which is that there's not like all sorts of like grease and fat spewing all over the stove. This is kind of important as we reach 4 minutes. Right now. Turn to medium. And flip.
Oh yeah.
We're starting to get a little bit of color on that because the pan got hotter. At this point, really, it's just a numbers game. It's just time. And your feeling about when the steak is going to be done, and that's always the crucial thing when it comes to cooking steak for people. It's like, oh, but it might be too rare. It might be too. I don't know. You have to kind of get experience with this. But now that it's on medium, I'm going to flip it probably once more, and then maybe once more, and that might be it for 2 minutes each time, timing it. So here we are again, a mere minute and a half later. And we're going to flip the steaks again. Again, it's on medium. This is the thing. Not messing up my stove, not messing up the house, not maybe not smelling too much. It is now 5:55. Almost 6 minutes into cooking the steak. I am a little concerned about the fat on the side and on this side as well. Here we are. Now we're getting good color. I'll be honest with you. I think this is going to be it. I'm not going to flip it again. This is all that I want. If I'm undercooked, I'd almost rather have it more rare than more well done. Worst case scenario, I could always cook it more if I needed to, but I can't cook it less. So you see how this is going. I think that steak is flavorful. Yeah. Really, literally. So this whole thing is going to be 8 minutes of cooking. And I may overcook it, and that's okay, as long as I don't overcook it too much. But again, that's the whole thing with steak, is that all you have to do is season it with salt and pepper, and then cook it to the temperature you like. Can you do that? I don't know. But this is an additional thing, which is that you can also make it not so difficult to process. It's not messy. It's not going to mess up your stove or your pans or anything like that. Here we are at 7-Eleven. I might just go ahead and pepper the bad boy right now, as long as I have time. And I said that you don't need to let it rest. I don't know why. I can't explain it. I'm going to let it rest anyway, but not for a full 15 or 20 minutes like people say you should do. But I just don't think it can hurt. Here we are, 7:45. I'm almost thinking that I might even be overcooking this, but I think there'll be more cooked parts and less cooked parts. Here we are. 8 o'clock, 8 minutes exactly. I'm going to take it here, put it on the old cutting board. And you see, that's all there is to it. Look at the stove. Look at the stove here. There's nothing there. I might even just leave this here because it's got fat in it. I don't know. I don't know if I want fat. And of course, as you know, when you rest the steak, whoop, let me pepper this side as well a little bit. Could I have peppered it before I put it in the pan? Yeah, maybe. Doesn't really matter. I've heard things though, like when you put pepper in a pan, it just burns the pepper. I've heard that. So I'm not even gonna like fold that down too much so some of the steam can escape. I don't want it to cook anymore. What is it I want? I want it to rest, and I want it to stay warm. Now, you see here, this is a lesson for another day, but I have kind of a ratatouille situation here. And I made this last night. And so that'll be a nice sauce for it. Sauce, stew. It's like steak and stew. And I have a salad here because my wife wanted this salad. This is why. But it's got watercress radicchio, toasted walnuts, apple, and cheddar cheese. That should be good for the salad. And then I just have these in the fridge and I don't want them to go bad. And there's a bunch of these super soft flour tortillas. And you can serve steak with bread. I love baguette and butter. But you know what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna make a kind of a taco situation because everybody likes tacos. And I'm going to use my sweet knife, which I brought out before. I use this mostly for cutting steak or any large hunk of meat. As you can see, it's a Japanese knife. It's incredibly sharp. And that's all I want to show you. This is very nice for cutting steak and other things. I don't use it to chop onions. I don't use it for any of that stuff. Garlic. I just use it to slice steak. That's how the Japanese would do it. Or raw fish, if I actually made sushi, but I don't. And that's it. The next thing I'm going to show you, and the last thing I'm going to show you, is when I cut into the steak, which is about 5 minutes from now. Thank you. Okay, guys. So now we're back. I did let that steak rest, even though I made big promises about how we didn't need to make it rest. Let's check it. I think it's going to be a little overcooked. I don't think it's going to be medium rare. But I think it's still going to be good. Now, of course, when you have a steak, you want to cut against the grain. This is the grain. It goes this way, 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 this way. And I am going to, let's check that. Close up on that. So clearly not medium rare, but you still got some pink there. You still got some red there. This is fat. And I'm gonna probably just eat that. But now I'm gonna cut against the grain. Now, here we go. Can't not like that. I'm gonna throw some tortillas because I do definitely want bread with my meal. They're on the thing. Boom. Flip it. Oh, that looks good. Actually, that might even be medium.
You should cut one of the pieces in half and try.
Should we cut one of the pieces in half?
Oh yeah.
Seems good.
That's really good.
Mm-hmm. And of course, you can do whatever you want with this, but what we're gonna do is we have a salad, a nice salad of watercress radicchio, and apples, toasted walnuts, and cheddar cheese. That should go well with it. You can do anything you want with this, there's a point. And what Arlen wants to do with it is just eat it right off the cutting board.
Yeah, I don't even need the dinner.
Mm-hmm.
I could just eat all of it right there.
It's not, even though I pre-salted it, it's not terribly salty. I'm gonna just hit it with a little bit of boom.
Dad's a taco genius, so he's gonna ace the tortillas.
You don't have to make tacos out of it, but that's exactly what we're gonna do. Here's another piece of fat. Not that I mind fat. Now I'm cutting against the grain. Cutting against the grain.
Is that just a massive piece of fat, this thing up
No,
the
there's
end?
a big piece of delicious meat in there. You can see how well this Japanese knife works with this.
When'd you get it again?
I got it from my retirement when I retired. You want that? It's fatty.
I'm not a fat guy.
Kids generally don't like fat. We know that.
I'll grow up someday.
And that's it. Once again, take a look at that steak. It's it looks pretty good. One could say it's not medium rare, but it's definitely not over medium. I mean, look at that. Pinkish reddishness. And here we go. Now, one thing that we would probably want to do is, you don't have to do this, but the Schaefer family is very big on sour cream. So that's what I'm going to put on here. And that's it. That's all there is to it. I could, we could go on. I could tell you how good this was and stuff like that. But I actually think you already know that. I think you know how good
And hey,
this
if you
was.
if you follow along and make it how he did, you'll know exactly how good it is.
And that's it. Boom. Look at that. Oh,
One last thing.
this ratatouille that I made last night. That'll probably be good.
I know.
Probably be good. We can take that to the table. We can make it happen.
All right.
Boom. Look at that. Wow. Did you get a picture of that?
Yeah.
It looks really good. You would eat that, right?
I would. I'm about to. So yippee. All right.
So now back to Kendrick Lamar.
All right. Bye bye everyone.